Good morning or afternoon, depending on your time zone. I'm just letting everyone in the room. It's lovely to see you all. Some familiar faces there. We're just going to wait another minute. It's an action-packed session today. I've been completely overambitious in how much I want to get through. That's okay. I'm going to share the slides with you at the end, or they'll come through, and this recording will come through as well. So we'll have that there, but I want to share as much as I can in an hour, even if we don't get to experience all of it, so you can see the team exercises in action. All right, so for those who are here and can you see my screen? That is the first check. Okay, excellent. So yes. Today we are going to be using technology quite a lot, and I've had a little practice already, but Zoom changes on me these things. It changes these things, and so my instructions might not always work. So we will muddle through that today as well. Now, before we get started, I would like to extend my respects to the traditional custodians of the lands on which I work, which are the Turrbal and Yagara people in the Brisbane region. And I would also like to extend my respects to the traditional owners of your lands, and more widely than that, because this is an Asia Pacific session, to any of the other cultures that are joining us today. Today is really about, sorry, I'm just going to say to my lovely Kate in the background that if you could keep adding these participants who join, I'm not watching that anymore. Today is all about working with the HBDI Team Profile using Zoom. And it is, I'll just rephrase that again, the team profile. So the 16-page report, hence why it's completely action-packed. So I'm not talking about just the 2-page preference map. I'm talking about the big meaty one. I'm not going through every single page, but I'm going to give you an example of activities you can use that hopefully trigger your own thinking to do this in your own context. One of the things I'd like to know before we get started, and if you could please share this in the chat with me, which I'll just open, how many team profiles have you worked with or facilitated? I'm just trying to get a sense of the experiences in the room. So in the chat for me, just let me know, like, never, that's fine. There might be new practitioners out there or no opportunity, or there might be practitioners out there who have really done quite a few. So I'm just trying to get a sense of the number, and I'm just coming through. I'm just having a quick look. So under 10 so far, over 100. Love it. Elaine, hi Elaine, lovely to see you there. Elaine, I'm going to stalk you after this session. I want to connect. I've got a question for you. Kelly Highland, lovely to see you. You'll see that some of these longer standing practitioners, I actually know them, and I know many of you actually, and I've had work to do with them. Lovely to see you, Kelly, there too. Excellent. All right, so let's get started. Overview. Who am I? I'm Rosie Hart. My name is also Rosamy, which is my email address. If you want to email me, you're welcome to. Steph, maybe you could put my email address in the chat for anyone who needed to get in touch with me if they didn't have my email address. It's rosamy@herman.com.au. And I've been with Herman a long time, 14 years now. When I say that, I used to say that and people go, oh, wow. Now I say it and they're like, oh, really? But I love what I do, and I love working with all of you. I love the whole brain thinking and the HBDI and the power that it has. So you'll keep seeing me around. Why are we here today? So we're here. I want to share with you some new ways, or maybe some ways you already are using the team profile, and some one-off exercises to really bring the reports to life in a virtual classroom. If you are certified prior to 2001, I think it was, we had the option of face-to-face certification. Nowadays, every certification is virtual. And so those practitioners are at somewhat of an advantage in some ways because they've experienced virtual world facilitation. But I want to share with you some of those things and some new things that we haven't shared before. The thing about the team profile is it's so meaty that it really can be used as a one-off learning experience, but also can be used as a consulting piece where you're coming back to it again and again and again. And when I ask practitioners who have had a lot of success with the team profile what they're doing, they're often telling me that they're not just using it in this one-off experience, that they're coming back or they're embedding exercises and activities into teams over and over again, and they're using them in their quarterly team meetings and things like that. So we're going to hopefully trigger some thoughts about that today. So what is it about? Fun and engaging ways to bring the team profile to life in the virtual world. How will it work? We've got 60 minutes together, at least 4 breakouts. I have got 6, but that's very ambitious. And please feel free to share your questions and things via chat. There will be a recording available after, and I will share these slides as a PDF. I also link to where a resource already exists in the practitioner portal. So some of these resources already exist for you, and you'll be able to access them and use them or adapt them for your own context. Alrighty, let's move on. When I work in a virtual world, I always put an expectation out there of pre-work. I very rarely, unless it's an engage or an intro session, walk into a virtual space without some kind of expectation of learning in advance or an activity in advance to try and get the thinking happening before we get into the room. So there's some background. And this is one of the exercises that I would share if I was getting a group to think about their team before the session. Now, just to put this in context, when I'm talking about the team profile here, as I mentioned before, I'm talking about the 16-page report, and I'm also making the assumption that these thinkers know about their individual profile first. And they could know about their individual profile because you've done a one-on-one debrief with each of them, or they could know about their profile because you've done a group debrief in a setting where you are learning about the model and themselves as thinkers. So they already have that foundational knowledge of the model and themselves as a thinker. So I should just preface that in terms of this session. So this exercise is in the practitioner portal. Steph's kindly shared it there. You've got access to it moving forward. And it just gets them thinking, your thinkers thinking about the contributions to a team. So you can see the questions, what do I bring to a team? Your main contributions, what do you enjoy about being part of a team? What don't you like? What think of the different teams you're a member of. What contributions do you make to these various teams? We often don't just work in a single team. What could you do to be a more effective team member? The reason I like people to think before they come into the classroom, it helps me understand how they're talking about their thinking. Are they talking about their thinking in a positive language and explaining what they bring to the team situation? Or are they going, oh my gosh, I can't stand it when my boss goes off on a yellow tangent. It just drives me insane. So it gives me an understanding of the type of culture I'm walking into and how we're going to phrase the language moving forward so that we can use this as a positive lens to consider what all quadrants bring. Now, one of the other things that I've done in advance is I've asked my thinkers to access their profile, and I've got them to go into their thinker portal. So this is what I want you to do now, because I'm going to call on some of you, particularly if I can see your lovely faces. I'm going to use that as a clue to participate in some of these activities as a model. So I won't use everyone in the group to participate, but I'll just pick people at certain times to participate. So what to do that, I'd like you to have your HBDI profile ready. And you can do this by going online nowadays, if you didn't know. So Steph has kindly put a link in there, journey.hermansolutions.net/thinker. And I had some backups ready in case that doesn't work. I'll move that down here. Have mine ready in the background. Now, I've just logged into my thinker portal. I remembered my password. Good on me. And I get into my profile. Now, where I want you to go is into explore my results, which directs you to your digital profile and then to your print summary. Now I'm cheating here. I don't want to go through all the details of the digital profile. I just want the 2-page snapshot summary as I facilitate in the classroom. Also, FYI, it's a great backup to have. If you were my real team, I have downloaded each of your 2-page summaries in advance in case you have technical issues. And in some cases, I've emailed it to you in advance. I did because I didn't know who's turning up today. I didn't do that. So we do it together. Now, the reason I want you to open your 2-page PDF is because we're going to do our first exercise right now. Your name is going to change. You're going to change your name to whoever you are, Rosie Hart, and you're going to add your preference code. So when you look on your face in the camera, you'll see some dots there and it will say rename. Hopefully Zoom hasn't changed that on me since last time. And then you put in your preference code. Mine is a 2211, as many of you share with me. And you're also going to put an asterisk and tell me your most descriptive word. And mine is intuitive. Can I spell today? Yes, I can. Intuitive. Now, straight away, as people start doing this, it gives me a quick snapshot of the thinking in the room, who I'm working with, what I'm dealing with, and what preferences might be showing up. Now, the other thing, I also am going to come back to this work elements key descriptors page later. So keep that going in the background and we will move on. But as I said, in my normal world, I would have actually done that in advance, but of course I didn't know who was turning up today, so we had to do it today, which is no problem at all. Now I'm going to start with an exercise. Kate is going to put you into random breakout rooms of about 6-ish people. And I want you to discuss this question. Which type of team is best? Discuss the following 2 statements and decide upon which statement is more true. Homogeneous teams, i.e. similar thinking teams, have better success, or heterogeneous teams have better success. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go away and debate this question. And then one person from your breakout group is going to come back and in the chat, you're going to say, we agreed with A or we agreed with B. We're going to see what the group decides. I will try and broadcast this into the breakouts as well. So Kate, if you'd like to send them into breakouts for me, we've got 5 minutes. I'll put my timer on. Welcome back. We had 5 rooms, breakout rooms. So I want 5 thoughts. What did you decide? Homogeneous teams have better success or heterogeneous teams have better success? Pop in the chat for me what you thought about. And let's have a quick look. So Adam's room said generally B, but depends how you define success. Yeah. Room 4 said depends what success looks like, but generally B. Room 2 said B, take longer to make decisions, but consider everything. Room 1 said B, room 2 said B as well. Okay, so it was kind of a trick question because the answer actually is it depends. It isn't always needed and appropriate to work in a whole brain way because as one of the teams even said, it takes more time to make decisions. So I'll give you a quick example. And this is why it's really important you understand the task the team is doing. What is the task they need to focus on and what quadrants or even clusters within the quadrants need to play out. I'll give you an example of where a heterogeneous team was a lifesaver. And it's sort of anonymous, but it's a real story. There was a client we worked with and they were launching a new product and the product was completely new for their organization and it was D-Day. So they were about to launch it in the next 24 hours. And so it had gone through all the final checks. And at the very final check stage, there was a problem. And the problem was that the team hadn't actually created a purchase button. There was actually no way to buy the product. So everything was there in the background, but there was literally no way to actually, well, virtually, because it was a virtual thing, pull it off the shelf and take it home with you. Big problem. And the architecture that they had created didn't have a way to it wasn't a simple fix. It was a step that was completely overlooked. And the team had been using whole brain thinking in the past and they had lots of profiles in our database and they said, can you please look in the database and data mine to find us the top 6 yellow quadrant thinkers or the highest yellow quadrant thinker scores, because we need an out of the box solution here. Anyway, so they pulled the data together and we then got in touch with these people because obviously we can't just share them who they are. We say, hey, we've got this scenario. Your team is asking for your help. Would you like to and choose to participate? Yes, we would. Anyway, to cut a long story short, within about 6 hours, they had enough solutions that they then passed to a blue and green quadrant thinking team to implement and do that. So that was an example where homogeneous thinking was needed. So the answer really is understand the nature of the task the team is focusing on and consider what thinking is required. And think of it more like a journey of thinking, perhaps, rather than just homogeneous thinking or just heterogeneous thinking. Think of it like, okay, right now we need a lot of yellow thinking, ideas-based thinking, and now we need some blue quadrant thinking, some evaluative thinking. So try and think about it in that way. But it was kind of a trick question. So if we're trying to say that you need to think about the objective in order to best respond to this question in working with teams. So that's something, just it's a theme that needs to come out in your facilitation of this work. And if you find the team getting stuck, come back to the model and go, are they getting stuck because, rightly as someone said, they're thinking about all points of view too much? That gets you stuck. Or are they getting stuck because they've shot off into the blue quadrant and they're neglecting every other thinking? That also gets a team stuck. So that's what this message is about. We can actually bring this to life in teams by creating scenarios. And so I'm going to run you through this scenario. I'm not going to give you enough time. I'm fully aware of that, but I want you to see what happens in your breakouts as you experience a scenario. And it's in the practitioner portal, which we'll share later. So here's the scenario. You're going to be working in those same teams again, and you're going to have a time limit. It's going to be 5 minutes. So it's not a lot of time. Usually I'll be giving you 20 minutes in a real team. But imagine you're about to launch a new digital-based product, the HBDI Thinker Portal. You're going to define and explain this product and then make a list of things you need to focus on to launch this product from every quadrant. So don't have the problem of the previous client. You're going to preempt any issues by thinking about what you need to do. I would like one person to act as scribe, and in the chat, while you are in your breakouts, in the chat, I'd like you to capture the thinking and then bring that back into the main room to share. So we're going to have 5 minutes. If Kate, if you'd like to open those rooms again, and okay. I'll see you back here in, well, 6 minutes actually. All right, welcome back, everybody. Steph has kindly put that exercise in the link as well, and we'll email them to you. And so I'd love to know if you were typing the launch plan, if you want to share it in the chat, if that was your role. But feel free
I was writing it. I wrote it in the chat. I wrote it in the breakout chat, and then that ended, and I lost it.
Ditto. Same here.
So
we lost it.
That's okay.
It's a good lesson in technology fail.
I wrote it down, Steph, so I could.
Oh, there we go, Elaine. You are saving the day. See, I can still do the green and the blue. Oh no, yeah, I can still do that.
My green kicks in under pressure.
See, this is why we love it.
Oh,
Thank
yes. Look at that. Look at that. Yellow, why do we need it? Now, please do share, but I'm going to pause here and say that at this point of the exercise, obviously you have more time in the real world, we'd want more time, but I just want to think about the design of the exercise. So when I have designed, or I selected this one specifically because of the thinking of the team profile I looked at, and the team profile told me their bottom work element was technical, followed by administrative, followed by planning. I don't know, I'm making it up, but I literally modify these exercises so that I am stretching the team into types of thinking that might not naturally happen to them. And I always include the keywords that are the bottom of the work elements, which I'll show you in a minute. So an activity like this is a leveler. It's a great way to level the conversation, to bring it out of work issue and to talk about, well, how did we approach a task? And there are so many. We have amazing practitioners out there who actually have companies who just run scenario-based learning exercises, who do this. And so this is just a tiny little taste, but this is a great way to give a team an experience and consider the thinking, as many of you were sharing back. Oh my gosh, yes, we planned in advance, or we did this in advance. This is the thinking that showed up. So consider using a leveler, and that's one example, and then use it to get into the discussion about the team profile in a bit of a less threatening and maybe a fun way. So I'm going to talk to the composite and average profile and how I might bring this to life in a team. I just want to point out that my team size, well, research says that a team, it gives you a big range. It says between like 4 and 9. The teams, that's the size of a team. And I don't know many teams who actually in the real world are that size, but that means they fall into the category of groups. The more people you have within a team, the more complex it gets. This was a group of 16 thinkers that I was working with. I picked this profile because I predicted it was similar to what was going to show up in the room today on average. And this is one of the things I do with this team. So what I'm going to do is facilitate this as if some of you are my team members right now. So we experienced the exercise just then, and I'm going to ask you to annotate your profile. So I'd like anyone with a camera on to particularly to try and find the annotate tool, and it's in a number of places depending on your screen. So it could be under you are viewing Rosie Hart's screen. You click on the little arrow, and then under that arrow it says annotate. I want you to pick the pen, pencil icon, or it could be some 3 dots that says more options. You click those 3 dots and it appears annotate. So give me a thumbs up if you actually have the annotate tool enabled right now. Tess does for me, Emma does. Okay, that's enough people to work with. Perfect. So what I'd first do is I say, this is the profile of your team on average. So, because I know that, sorry about the drawing, it's a bit squiffy. So this is the average of your team. So I'm actually going to start with Tess because I can see your preference there. Tess, I'd love you to draw your profile to the team and tell me what you think you might contribute when you've had a go at that. And as you're drawing, is it working for you?
Okay. Yes, it will work. So I am very high green. So I got my notepad out straight away and started taking notes. Probably
There.
took over a bit, trying to get it done in the time. I don't have very much. Oh, yellow. I've probably gone a little bit too high in my yellow.
Yep.
And then, oh goodness, this is hard on here.
Are you drawing? Are you drawing on it right now?
Can't you see it? Can you see my drawing?
It's a very fine
Yep,
line.
Oh,
you have it. Well done, Tess. Look at Tess's profile there. So we've got a little bit of blue, strong in the green, strong in the red, strong in the yellow, and Tess shared. She got down to business. In fact, Tess was the one who shared the chat message. So there's an example of that. I'm going to go with Emma Merton. Is your annotate working? Do you want to add your picture?
Absolutely. Just double checking, it's thick. Okay, so this is kind of scary. Hang on, I'll go a bit thicker. I'm 3311. Oh, I've just made a circle, sorry.
It's all right, takes skill. We have to practice this bit.
I'll just go, there we go. Down, very, very low green. Then I go down here. And then I go up. I just unclick, yep, and then go up. And I'm up here and then down here.
And so, Emma, tell me what came out for you. And while Emma's sharing with me what came out for her, Jane Tweedy, would you mind drawing yours on, and then I'll ask you to share too? What happened for you in the exercise, Emma?
I went straight to brainstorming in my head, lots of ideas to the point where I couldn't decide where to start first. I almost started with the second question before the first. And I was also aware there was a bit of silence. So I was worried about trying to make sure everyone was included and felt that they had space to speak. And then I jumped in because it was too quiet. And then I thought blue and green right at the end. That was like, oh, yuck, I have to go there. So that's kind of me in my life.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
No worries.
Jane, tell us about your thoughts in that exercise.
Yeah, we scripted question 3, so I brought us back to question 2, which was responding to someone else starting on question 2. But then we didn't have anyone strong in the green, and so nobody thought about monitoring time or making sure we split the time up or anything like that. So we lacked that, definitely.
Yep. So you can do it this way where you can see everyone's adding. The other way you can do it is like I'm about to do now. And so Cara, I can see you're there. Cara, can you come off mute? I'm going to draw it for you. Can you tell us what happened for you? Cara's a 2211 because she shared. So we're going to draw Cara's profile. Tell us what happened for you. Ooh, Not really.
Yeah, I think it was, we literally, because I'm with Jane and Emma in our group, so it was the same experience. I think we all took our time to assess the activity that we were doing rather than looking at it in a logical or factual way. So it was great that others had to jump in to kind of bring us back onto track and to recognize that the majority of our team our preference was over to the yellow and red.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. And Chris, thanks for turning your camera on. I've just seen you there. 1122. This is wonderful. This is Chris's profile. Tell us, sorry, I didn't quite get the scale right there, but get the idea. Tell us about what happened for you, Chris. You're on mute, by the way. Just click off mute first.
Sorry, that's good. Yes, I'm out there world class in the blue. So unfortunately, my brain just jumped straight to my preference of critical, and what was going through my head was, what we're being asked to do is not going to be achievable in 5 minutes, and all I could do was think of a whole list of the details of the things that I would come up with under each of those quadrants. And I thought, well, given that I am well out there on the left and everyone else in my group is well out there on the right, I'll just keep my mouth shut and wait to see what others say.
Perfect. Thanks so much for sharing, Chris. So I'm going to stop it there. So this is the way that you can bring this to life. And you could see how this could take like an hour to have these conversations in a team where people are sharing what they bring and when they keep quiet and when they express themselves. And so then it's like, well, so what? Okay, so what do we do next time we're working together in a team? How do we use this? So this is just one exercise that you could use in a virtual space. You can draw yourself, you can get them to draw. And I am cheating too, because I can see the preference codes of the thinkers in the team. And so I'm picking people, but you can also see number matters, size matters. The more people you start to put in your teams, the more time you're going to need to process this and work through this, which is fine. It's just a matter of time. So thank you for participating in that exercise for some of you. I've got many more. I'm looking at the time. I'm not going to get through them all today. I'm so super ambitious. It's all right. I will get to them over time. We'll come back to them. So where I might go next after that exercise is put them into breakouts for some specific questions around these two reports. And these are some questions I do change my questions based on the purpose of the team, what they're trying to achieve. But here are some of my favorites. So this team, the data I'm sharing with you is quite diverse. How is the diversity of thinking an asset to our team? And that exists in many teams, diversity, even if we only had one Chris in that example, that was the leftmost thinker, that there's still diversity that exists. So how is it an asset? How is diversity also a possible hindrance? So I like to talk about the flip side. There's no point in always saying, yeah, it's always going to be fine and dandy. We have to recognize sometimes it can get in our way. And can we give examples? What does the average suggest about the team is another question I like to ask. And in this case, the average, what happens to the thinking under pressure? In the team I'm showing you here, there isn't actually there is not a visible shift under pressure. And so it might be that I don't see when the team's under pressure, although there's another page I'll get to where I've worked with this team and I did see the team under pressure. It was very obvious when they were under pressure, and we'll get to another page to talk to that. But these are some of the questions we might ask. And then if I'm only focusing on this data, I'll finish with, okay, so what do we do about it? What strategies do we need to put in place? What are our next steps? What actions do we take? And then in the next month, when I come back to this team or in the next quarter, I say, hey, tell me how those strategies go. What did you do differently? How did you use this insight to change the way you were focusing in order to blah? I'm saying whatever the purpose is, because without a purpose, it's really hard to get a team to move forward. So that's one example of an exercise. I'm on to my third example. Yes, that's because we did the scenario and we've done the composite. Now I'm going to talk to the flow of preferences. And this exercise is, actually, it's going to send you out of sync a bit. I shouldn't have done it in this order. Oh, never mind. You can be adaptable today. So the flow of preference is the order of quadrants that the team goes through. And this page becomes really interesting when the team is working together on something, because they're moving through a task. if a team is brand new and they haven't really worked together on anything and moved through a task, it's very hard to talk to this page because this is about order. This is about sequence. And that's why the team exercise I did, the 5-minute, do this task, and I love Chris's evaluation of it. It's unachievable in the time frame, Rosie. It's true. He's not wrong. But it gives us a way to talk to flow and talk to the order of quadrants. So if it's a new team, just consider that in advance, because you might need to put an exercise out there so you can actually see the flow play out. Because if they're brand new, they probably haven't worked well enough together to recognize what this means. So they're hypothetically talking about what flow means for them. Now, this exercise, I'm going to change the breakout. So we're going to do 4 breakout rooms this time. And this is going to be very fast exercise, like 2 minutes in the breakout room, because we're just experiencing this exercise. Now, there are 4 breakouts for this activity. In the physical classroom, I'll put like corners of the room, 1, 2, 3, 4 corner, go to your corner, where's your highest preference? Same concept, but breakout rooms. So if your highest or your starting point thinking is the blue quadrant, and that means your score in the blue quadrant is the highest, you're going to join breakout 1. If your starting point thinking is highest in the B quadrant, you're going to join breakout room 2. If it's the C quadrant, breakout room 3. If it's the D quadrant, breakout room 4. So you need to know numerically in your HBDI profile where your highest quadrant is, first of all, and then you're going to join the room. So Kate, if you could put 4 breakouts there, and this time you select the room. So watch the screen, it will give you a pop-up and it will say breakouts are open. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'll wait for you to come back into the room. So another fun exercise. And as I said, like I really haven't given you much time to talk and go through it, but it's the experience or the concept of these activities I really want you to take away. Now, we had 4 rooms and we had 3 people in room 1 for the A quadrant, Chris, Jess, and Somi. And we had 1 person in room 2, 1 lone survivor in the green quadrant. That was Tess. And then we had a number of people in room 3, the red quadrant highest, and then same with room 4, and that was all the rooms. Now, what I would often do is repeat this exercise 4 times, because on my old facilitation, I'd go to highest quadrant, second highest quadrant, third highest quadrant, lowest quadrant. And what I'm trying to do is get the room to see who's in the room with them and who are they working with. And what does this mean for our success? But you've seen this in the physical world as well, but this is how we can mirror it in our virtual world. Highest then lowest. Yeah, Jane's doing highest then lowest. In fact, you could do that too. You could go straight from highest and then straight into lowest instead of going all the way through all of the order. You could do lots of different ways. It's a good idea. Excellent. But you get the idea of the task and how you can use this as a way to bring back. And again, this type of task, this experience, you could use 60 minutes to facilitate something like this and to debrief something like this. And then I always back it up with the data that informs the experience. So this is what the data is showing me, is that probably our flow of preference as a team, if it was the 30 so of you, would be starting point yellow, followed by red, followed by blue, followed by green, I think, based on those numbers just then. And so we talk to the flow maps. My first question on the flow is, are you operating under pressure? Because if you are, then it impacts which map I might be talking to. How does the flow impact our success? And some of you even mentioned earlier, like we need to define success. So we need to do that up front. What does success look like? Where are our possible blind spots? How do individual team members experience the flow? Well, this is a good question, because it's about recognizing that even though the team prefers this flow, it doesn't mean that every individual in the team prefers the flow. And the more aligned you are to a flow, the more likely you are to report to me, we have a great team, we're awesome. And the more diverse you are to the flow, like the opposite, in fact, the more likely you're to say, well, our team's got some challenges. And it comes out in this discussion here. So how does an individual's experience impact engagement and collaboration in the team? Like Chris shared before, and thanks for sharing, Chris. He said, I kept quiet. And that could happen in a team where we don't hear the voice of a different type of thinking. So again, this is the facilitation that would happen after the fact. I've got 2 more exercises, so I'm going to do them quickly to just give you a sense that you're probably seeing the themes now. So this is the preference map that I want to show up. And people say to me, how do I do the brain map in the virtual room? Well, how do I do the brain map is I use annotate. So I want you to go back to the annotate tool if you found it before. This time I want you to use the stamp. So no pens, just find the stamp, and I want you to find the star. Is it yellow? No, that's a bad choice for this group. It's yellow and everyone's going to be in the yellow. Thinking of, yeah, just go with the star. It's fine. Just comparison. It won't show up visually. Now, thank you. Someone just start on the page. That's exactly what I want you to get, the star. And what I want you to do is we're going to do 3 different things. I'm going to do 1, then 2, then 3, and I'll delete each time. So first thing is just exactly what that last exercise was. With the star, map your starting quadrant thinking. Now, just hold on before you do, because we might have some accidental stars there. So I'm just going to clear. Hold on 2 secs. Hold your stars. Clear drawings. Okay, it's clean now. So go to the map and star your highest quadrant first. Okay. Here we go. Whoa, here we go. And I already know this because of the data of the previous exercise, but imagine I'm doing these individually. So that I'm going to have 1 person in the green, I'm going to have 3 people in the blue, and everyone else is in the red and the yellow. Nice to know. Okay, delete that, clear that. Now, this is what Jane shared. Where is your lowest quadrant? What is your lowest quadrant? And star there, star there. And no surprises. We're seeing a lot of blue, green, bit of red. No one is in the yellow, although this is why I said it was a dud choice, because it's a yellow star in the yellow quadrant. Oh yeah, you can still see it. That was me. Sorry, team. That was me. So again, we talk through this as just another way to do what we did in the previous exercise. The next thing that I want you to do, now I'm going to clear the drawings again. So hold off on your starring. Now we can pick a different, ooh, Zoom would like to, no, don't shut on me, Zoom. No, I'm not going to change it up, sorry. This time you can draw or you can pick a shape. And I'm going to pick a filled shape. I'd like you to mark with a shape, a circle, if you can find it, or just use a stamp, whatever works for you, your average location on the map. How do you figure this out? Well, if you were to consider all your preferences together, where do you think on average would be your standing location? Do you think, like Emma shared before, really strong, oh, yellow, Rosie, change the color, Rosie. No, I'm just guessing Emma might sit there on the map on average. Some of you also might have red and yellow, but not as strong in your degree of preference. So maybe here, some of you might go, you know what, I'm triple dominant. I like all 4 quadrants. I go here. So where does your tilt fit? So just hold on 2 seconds. I'm going to clear. That was a demo. Okay. Find where did you put yourself on average? Yeah, great, perfect. You get the theme. This is like the brain map, but in our virtual worlds. So we are now trying to see the general patterns of preferences where we are falling. And the reason that looking at our placement on average is important is it impacts group dynamics and interpersonal relationships. I say that with one caveat, that we do not want to walk away going, oh, Jess is the blue thinker and Tess is the green thinker, because it is an average placement. So it is really about the engagement of us within this team. So I'll clear those drawings, and then what would I follow up with? Obviously, I would follow up with the preference map and say, so you had a guess? Now let's look at what the data is showing us. And this is the team, and we have the scores map on the left and we have under pressure on the right. So some questions I might ask about this. How does a score map impact our team dynamics and relationships? Because this map, I'm not want to talk about, oh yeah, we're red and yellow. We already know that. We've looked at that a lot of times already. This is now, how does it impact the relationships we have with each other? And we can see the impact of relationships. We can see 4 and 5 here, introverted thinkers, maybe working together. We can see 1, 15 and 11. Perhaps they're in a little offside clump doing other thinking or other things. And so we're talking about the interacting of interpersonal relationships and what that means. And I'll share my last story because I'm going to wrap up. So with this team, what happened under pressure is they all just talked over each other. No one listened. There was, I don't know, I'm going to do this, we're going to do that, no, we're going to do this. And there was no cohesion, and you could see that showing up in the map here. They all had a different point of view to consider. It was an important point of view to them, and they wanted to express it. They were a highly expressive team. And so we talked through that and how we might give voice to 16 members of a team as we, go through our different projects and work together. So I've run out of time. I have one more exercise, so I'll just explain how we do it, and because you'll be getting the theme here. This is about work elements. So if you go to your HBDI profile, your work elements section is where you have numbers, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. What I do here is I use the annotate tool and I get people to stamp their location with a particular work element and indicate the degree of preference. So if I was to pick technical for your group and say, look at technical on your HBDI profile and tell me what number does it have next to it, a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, I'm going to make a prediction here that a lot of you are starring over here, and some of you might be like starring here. And what I'm trying to do is show up the data of the work elements to look at the work we prefer to do and the ways we divide that work up and the work we need to do to get the job done. So, call out the work element so I can go through all 16 of them, or I can just pick a couple, depends how much time I've got. And then we talk to it and we go, oh, okay, team, what does this mean for us? If we have to launch a new digital product, how are we going to focus on that? And then we talk to those points. So that's what that one is about, and it's in the Prac portal. That's why I just wanted to show it to you. With annotate, make sure you always turn it off. So if you don't turn it off, you keep annotating the whole class, which I don't mind, but you might feel embarrassed. So then we go to the work elements and we have questions about the distribution. So the data, that activity is literally this data shown. That's what that's about. And I ask my questions about it, which are on the screen there. And I also talk to the rank order of work elements. And we talk to that in relation to the task the team needs to focus on, which means having knowledge of that task is very important up front. So that was my 5 exercises. I've got a minute to wrap up. When you're working with a team, make sure it is a team and not a group. A team has a common purpose or vision or objective, and it knows where it's going to get to that objective. Okay, because if it's a group, then you're not going to be able to take them through those steps and that journey. In fact, one of the things I ask up front is, what is the purpose of your team? And that can take an hour in itself to clarify. Sometimes with a team that's very dysfunctional. So the team is like a rowing 8. It knows where it's headed. It knows the role it plays. It knows what it needs to do to win the race. But a lot of times teams operate as single scull boats. You get in your own boat and you're rowing around and off you go to the end, but you're not actually in the same boat. Size matters, so that's something to think about as you're working through this. The more you have in a team, the more time you're going to need. I've already mentioned the task and objective being important. Think about whether you are trying to help the team just understand themselves or whether you actually want them to take it to the next level and do something about it. So today was a lot about the understanding of the team, questions about team insight. What I didn't do today was take it to the next level and say, so what are you going to do differently? What strategies are you going to put in place? What are you going to need to apply to get better success? So that would be your next step. We've got a couple of case study examples about successful teams using whole brain thinking if you ever need them. And this is my final slide. So as a wrap up, the team profile can be used as an ongoing development initiative. Any of those exercises I shared today, you could run as a one-off 45-minute, let's go back into our team profile, let's bring this to life, let's look at how we're going, let's look at what we're doing, let's look at how we can improve. Or you could run it as a longer session. How you pull it together, it's a matter of time. I just wanted to point out to you that when you are working with whole brain thinking, time is important. If you want to be a driver, if you want to drive a car, you have to do 100 hours of learning. And so it's the same when you learn something new like whole brain thinking. I get so many clients go, oh, we've got 2 hours and we want everything. Okay, well, did you learn to drive a car in 2 hours? No, you had to do your 100 hours. And so as a guide, I need to frame that to get started with whole brain thinking, the HBDI, it's about 3 hours. To go into teams is about 3 hours. To take it to the next level and actually use this to create impact and solve business issues is another 2 hours. And then teams that are doing this well are referencing this every quarter in their team meetings. So it starts off being a more intensive facilitated experience, and that's your role. But the whole objective is to get these teams to be doing it on their own without you. And so you start heavy, but you're hopefully filtering in ideas and exercises that then they take control and they start to do this independent of you. or with the support of you. So be thinking about that, because I'm coming across a lot of teams that are like, yeah, we want this team session. We got 2 hours. Like, how many in the team? Oh, 17. I'm like, okay, you need to give me one clear objective of what you want to achieve in that session, because it's not realistic. And I go back to the learning the drive the car. You don't get your learner's permit or your Ps unless you've done your 100 hours. And so we have to figure out what of the 100 hours we want to focus on first. So today was just a little taster of some of those things that you could do. I want to know if you've got exercises. Please email me. I want more. I'm keen to share more. If you have something that you love to do and you want to share with us, please get in touch. I will add it. We can get you to share it in this sort of practitioner forum. And the more, the better, because this is how we keep it alive. Because what everyone says after their first session is, what next? How do we keep this alive? What do we do? And I am only one brain, and I want 100 brains to share this, because there's so much we can do with it. So please get in touch if you have an idea. And at the last is the yellow, which is ironic to end with in a group like this today, where we were all first starting point yellow. But just remember the big picture and the vision. So that is, what are you wanting to do to develop this team? What's the objective? When a team says to you, we've got 2 hours and we want to maximize this team and we want to get introduced to whole brain thinking, you go, oh, okay, let me just get that one clear objective in my mind so that I know how we're going to do it in 2 hours and what's realistic. Because these activities I shared with you today, any one of those could be a 2 hour, well, more than one, probably 2 hour session. And just make sure you recognize whether this is a team or a group, because it does impact the way the data shows up and how it works. If you ever get stuck on a team profile, you are welcome to reach out to me if you have some funky data. I'm talking with someone later today about funky data. Means data that doesn't quite make sense in what you're seeing manifest and what the data is showing. And so we talk through it, and we're trying to connect the dots and help put some strategies in place for those situations. So if you need to, please feel free to get in touch. But thank you for today. Apologies for going over. I never like to do that, but there was a lot of sharing and hopefully some fun experiences happening. As I said, the recording will be available, and the slides, I'll download them as a PDF. You can access them too. And I might be stalking some of you to find out what you're doing out there. It's been lovely to see you, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. Stay safe.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Rosie.
Rosie.
Thanks,
so
Rosie.
much.